we sit there and still watch professional wrestling. And sometimes I do ask myself why I bother. Um, I know I'm not alone. I know you still ask yourself all the time.
Weekly, I debate whether or not I'm watching it.
And, there are many different reasons why I've gotten to that point. I think why we've gotten to that point. We're not the only ones. And we look for different things to blame or different reasons for why we think the product is lame. Bottom line is, for WWE, TNA, ROH, it doesn't matter. Writing is substandard to poor to god awful nowadays.
It barely exists even in any of the companies.
The creative aspects of the business as a whole are just god awful. You really have to really, really, really just blindly love the wrestling business in an only positive way, or really, really be a dyed-in-the-wool sheep of one of these companies to sit there and say that the writing and creative direction of the business is anything other than, frankly, the drizzling shits. Now, when we look at it, you know, we look at writing, and a lot of times in the internet community, we have always bitched, and we've been guilty of it here at OTRS as well, no question. One of the most guilty parties, in fact. And we always like to blame the Hollywood writers, or the soap opera writers, and say that they have caused a lot of the ills, in particular with the WWE. But when you look at the product,
you can't even blame that on the writing anymore, because at least on a soap opera, you have families, you have interactions, you have love stories, you have these characters involved in the main storyline, you have other stories going on, and then eventually they come together to build something. But in the WWE, they don't even do that anymore.
they have no friendships really to speak of.
No.
It,
You have tag teams, and that's about it.
even when they do a storyline like a Cena or a Zack Ryder being friends, they do it for a little bit, and then they very quickly back away from it with absolutely no consequence to either party involved.
It's like everybody on the show is a lone wolf, just out for themselves, and it's just bad writing.
You can't see the traces or elements of soap opera in this crap. Even when you talk about like last summer with the AJ Lee crap, no, that wasn't even good soap opera writing. That was just dumb shit, period. And when you talk about soap operas, again, you're talking about, you look at some of these soap operas, you'll have 4, 5, 6 different storylines, some that intermix a little bit, some that do not. And eventually, at some point, they all find a reason. They kind of come together, then they split off, and you do different things. But you've got love, you've got passion, you've got emotion, you've got family, you've got friendship, you've got enemies.
Exactly.
Where is this shit in professional wrestling today?
Exactly. Back in the old days, you'd see guys interacting backstage. You'd see a guy come out and watch a match of another guy just because they were friends. He'd come out to the ring with him for no real reason. Just, I'm a fan of this guy, I'm a friend of this guy, so I'm out here to support him. But no.
Nowadays, you get something where you'll have this guy. I'll give you a relevant example. Let's say you have The Miz wrestling Antonio Cesaro, and Wade Barrett's the IC champ, and he's down there doing commentary. For some damn reason, the wrestling business, and the WWE in particular, is guilty of this. They think that us seeing Wade Barrett at the commentary table and having Miz beat Cesaro clean, and then Miz and Barrett have a stare down. Ooh, that is great storytelling, and that's going to get us emotionally invested. And by God, that's going to make us want to see Miz beat Wade Barrett for the IC title.
No, what should happen is Miz should acknowledge the fact that Wade Barrett's there, at least at the beginning of the match, during the match, and Wade Barrett should either get involved in some way, distract in some way, or he just shouldn't be out there.
Because otherwise, there's no fucking reason for these guys to be out there. There's absolutely no reason. There's no consequence to half of this shit they do anymore.
We already have 3 commentators out there. Do we really need another guy out there just saying the same thing?
I mean, now you get to the point when you look at a typical Raw or SmackDown show. You've got this guy is feuding against this guy, and there's really no freaking reason. There's no backstory to it. And even when they try to explain something or give us some type of backstory, it always ends up falling short, and it ends up being just incredibly lame-ass.
It's almost like there's a dartboard backstage, and they just throw 2 darts, and then they're like, we'll just figure out why they're feuding later, and they never put any thought into it.
This is a company, especially in the WWE, where you look at them and you say, this is a company that used to be able to make stars. You don't know how sometimes, but they did. You always see they would start a guy here, they push. Sometimes it would be over the top, sometimes it would be subtle and gradual, but it would work. And even when you look at a company like TNA, there's a company in TNA that you look at it and you say, frankly, the way they're their television programming is written, that has more soap opera feel to it than the WWE does.
It's true.
But even when you look at TNA, their shit is god awful a lot of times. You got a freaking faction in Aces and Eights that for months they were doing the same crap, but then they were consistently losing or they were consistently running away. When you have strength in numbers, why are you running and hiding when you have the numbers, when you have the advantage? It's just all of this crap is just absolutely mind-blowing, but you see it again, it's kind of coming across as a blast against the WWE, but it kind of is too, because they're the leaders, and when they're bad, the business is bad. You talk about the way they structure heroes and villains today, it's absolutely terrible. I mean,
exactly. You have a superhero here, but oh, he doesn't have any friends. He's out there by himself. He has no real clear-cut villain that he has to defeat, because your hero, let's say it's John Cena here, he's always going to win. He's never going to lose. There's no peril. There's nothing on the line. He's always going to win. So where is my investment in that character if there's no chance that he's going to lose?
You talk about it with Batman, and you talk about the story arcs. Talk about what you mean.
Exactly. Say there's a 6-issue Batman story arc. Batman isn't going to be clearly winning in 5 of those issues. Yes, he's going to win in the end, and that's fine. But there's some peril, there's some story, there's some detective work going on in the issues leading up to that grand finale where he's going to win. I mean, the Joker and Batman have fought many times.
They'll fight for a while, then
Joker goes away.
But you have another villain ready, and maybe Joker does come back. But you look at the thing now, as you talk about heroes and villains in wrestling, and especially again in the WWE in particular, the baby faces almost always go over. Your baby faces have become the villains have become the baby faces, because it's the villains that are always at threat of losing. They're the vulnerable ones. How does this work?
How do you make your villains believable when they run away from the fight all the time? Sure, they should run away to fight another day every once in a while, but not every match. And they should be planting the seeds that, oh, I'm going to beat you in some way.
They're running away because they're chicken shit, as opposed to running away because it's a smart thing to do, in part because they have not done a good enough job of making it believable that the heel can actually prevail over the babyface. I do not get for the life of me why the WWE does not understand that your heroes are getting booed and your villains are getting cheered because they're in opposite roles, because you've made it that way. You've got villains, like you said, and you watch Raw 80% of the damn time every week. A babyface is going over a heel. Why?
Oh, yeah. Because you need to send the audience home happy? No. Entertain your audience. They don't need to see the good guy win all the time. Give them a couple weeks where the good guy doesn't win, so that there's actually a threat, a challenge, something for them to overcome, some sort of obstacle.
That way we actually give a shit about it. Maybe we get a little bit more behind the babyface. If you had better storytelling in terms of the steps to get to a feud, and then when we actually got to the matches, you didn't always find some lame-ass excuse for the babyface to win, or just have the babyface win in dominant fashion. I mean, you look at sports. The WWE likes to think of themselves, even though they think of themselves as a movie business and entertainment, they also like to think of themselves a lot as a sporting type of event.
Right.
Well, we're thinking about this from a sports standpoint. Good teams in baseball win maybe 55% of the time. Great teams in baseball maybe win 60% of the time. Great teams in the NBA maybe win 70-75% of the time. Guess what they're doing the rest of the time?
Well, they're not going out there and being this undefeated force. They're going out there and losing some of the games.
Exactly. And where is it written that you have to have a baby face, whether it's a John Cena or it's a Randy Orton or it is a Sheamus or a CM Punk or whoever your baby face is? Where is it written that your baby face has to win and look strong 95 to 99% of the damn time? No. That's why nobody's invested in these characters anymore. That's why people are always bitching so much about wanting Cena to turn heel or Orton to turn heel. Because maybe what they're thinking is that this guy turns heel, he'll start losing some, then I've got a reason to get behind him, now I'm going to cheer him because now he's a villain so he could be my babyface.
To bring it back to the comics thing, you have Batman, who's basically known as a solo hero. Yet he's a part of the Justice League, so therefore he has friends. So, I mean, that's a big complaint.
But you also have Robin.
Yeah.
You'd have Alfred, you have some
Nightwing, Batgirl.
You have love interest in there. There are different reasons, different ways that you could potentially get at Batman without actually getting at Batman. Whereas opposed if you look to somebody like a Superman. and not somebody that I've been a really big fan of as a comic book hero.
Me either,
over the years.
because he's written like a god.
And he's just, ooh, Kryptonite's gonna get him, or ooh, he loves Lois Lane. Oh, bullshit! There's no reason to me to sit there and really get behind Superman and really get emotionally invested in him and really want to see him succeed when you know he's gonna do it anyways, not because he's just the good guy, but because he's fucking Superman. And you make it look like nothing could ever beat him, nothing could ever stop him.
Look at him. His name's Superman. I mean, that right there is a problem.
And you wonder why some of his movies tank. It's not just because they're shitty and terribly written. It's because people go to the movie and they automatically say to themselves, oh, there's going to be no surprise here. He may or may not get some kryptonite thrown at him at some point, and he'll find a way to overcome, and he'll end up winning.
Exactly. Whereas most superhero movies, there's some sort of story or structure that's a mystery or something to get you involved so that you give a shit.
And Superman movies, especially the last couple, just flat out haven't given you a reason to give a shit. And no, making Superman an emo Superman is not a good way
No,
to get people to like him.
That is not the way to go with Superman.
No. The reason people don't like Superman so much is because they don't have a reason to be interested in him. And no, making him all emotional and touchy-feely is not necessarily the way to do it either. The bottom line is when you look at professional wrestling, I mean, you've got, like in TNA, they write the same guys in the same spots. Their dominant heel faction for so long was winning garbage-ass matches, or they were losing when they shouldn't have. They're running away from people. You're not doing anything to build your young guys. In the WWE, we always talk about soap opera writers, but where are the soap opera writers? There's nothing resembling a soap opera in today's WWE.
You almost have to wonder if there's too many filters on the way to it getting to the screen to see if they just took that stuff out. They're like, no, people aren't tuning in for this. They're tuning in for this match. And sadly, we're not.
Yeah, so maybe by the time it goes from the writing stage to the final production, post-production stage, it's gone from this to this. Whatever the case might be, we need to stop blaming soap opera writers, because to me they're clearly not the problem, because there's nothing that really shows any trace elements of soap opera writing.
Exactly, and the fact that they have a week to work on it and then you give them 30 minutes to rewrite it before Raw, that probably doesn't help very much
either. And you look at this from a standpoint of, you guys are being too hard on the writing. I mean, seriously, when all of your heroes are getting booed and most of your villains are getting cheered, we are right, the WWE is wrong, they are out of touch. That's because their writing is terrible. When your heroes are getting booed and your villains are getting cheered, that is all the indication you need that something is amiss with your storytelling. I mean, when is the last time you really had a really interesting saga? Do we need to talk about how the Nexus was written? Do we really need to talk about how the CM Punk Summer of 2011 was written? Do we really need to go into the how John Cena was fired storyline? Do we need to go into any of those things whatsoever?
No, and it's all right to root for an anti-hero or to sometimes be behind the villain, but give me a reason. I mean, honestly, give me some sort of a reason to give a shit.
The only reason they give you to give a shit about the villain is because you want to sympathize with them, because they always lose.
Exactly.
And if they do win, they always have to win 99% of the time by some bad chicken shit cowardly maneuver.
Oh, it's a DQ. Oh, somebody else got involved.
Oh, I hit him with a weapon. Just because that's the way it used to be done in the wrestling business is not always necessarily an indication of how it needs to be done now. And I'm sorry, this shit needs to change. I mean, I know other people have tuned it out because the writing is terrible. You look at a Raw from even 10 years ago, and you look at Raw today, and you just feel like, here's what you got. You got a crappy opening segment, match, crappy segment, match, crappy segment, match, main event match. And that's what
most of those matches you've already seen 3 or 4 times.
And most of those matches really aren't building to anything whatsoever. They're just randomly thrown together. A babyface is going over, whoop-de-shit. And if there is a heel going over in a match, he's going against an utter jobber of a babyface, and that heel is just being set up to job to the next babyface. It's like we're scared now in wrestling to have the heel be the dominant figure. We're scared to make the babyface look bad when that's exactly what we need to do. And in the next video that we do like this, we're going to talk about characters in the WWE in general and lack thereof. Frankly, where are the good characters? But we do know there are plenty of bad ones. Let us know what you think down below about the writing in today's WWE. If you really think it's good and you really want to make an argument for it, God bless you. Knock yourself out. right down there in the comments. Otherwise, join us in the shit on WWE and wrestling business.